Web3 nomads. Everywhere jobs for anywhere people.
How are you all doing? Dan's just been going off on a limb saying Teslas are a lot of rubbish effectively, but I think we've got other stuff to be covering. Gents, how are you doing? How was the weekend after 2 out of the 3 of us idiots have said we'd have continuation? It looks like we've had a little bit of a move up, but now we're in bulls versus bear mode, I think.
Oh, we are in a heavy consolidation period right now. You can see it, like you see where it's pumped, and then all of the moving averages they've crept up to sit, and now we're going along this long little like consolidation phase. What happens now? Absolutely nobody knows. I thought we were going to get more movement yesterday, for like Martin Luther King Day, like maybe a little bit of a celebration, and maybe market goes pumping. But I think now it's. They're not moving it because they want to like trap more liquidity, both long and short. And I reckon we're going to get some dirty wicks. We get a dirty wick down to get the late longers, and then we get dirty wick up to get the late shorters. And then what happens after that? Honestly, not got a clue.
I think that's a pretty good assessment. I mean, you didn't get the call right for the weekend. I made the statement that it's probably going to punch through that resistance, but like deep down, I didn't quite believe it, but obviously in disbelief on the Saturday when it did, I was like, wow, okay, so that was a really strong move. And I honestly thought with the move that we had on Friday going into Saturday that it would actually continue into yesterday, but then I realized halfway through yesterday that it was actually a bank holiday in the States, so we might see it today. I think yesterday was probably a really bad day to have that expectation in light of that, so I wouldn't be surprised if it continued going up today. But like you said, Dan, it really is like a coin flip at this point in time.
Yeah, it's going to be Wednesday. Wednesday's going to be the big day because that's when you got all like the PPI stuff coming out. So it's going to be interesting to see like which way the market makers move the markets beforehand, before that actually happens, to see whether they decide to like rip it up or not. I mean, Hong Kong today, like right now, as of almost 7:30 my time. So they're down almost 1%. US futures down fractionally, but they're still holding over 4K. Dow Jones is up a little bit. So it's going to be really, really interesting to see how the market moves. 6% move up on the VIX as well. So yeah, it's going to be a day of volatility, I think.
Yeah, so like DB...
But I'm going to say up.
Yeah. DB, the art on Twitter is tier 10K, is my kind of go-to for news and weeks ahead and things like that. So his latest image was Monday, markets closed for Martin Luther King Day, Wednesday, BOJ rate decision, morning, expected to keep rates unchanged, PPI, 1:30 in the afternoon, month-on-month estimation, 0.1%, core month-on-month estimation, 0.1%, retail sales, 1/2, and month-on-month estimation, 0.9%. So that's kind of what we got to look at. We certainly didn't do this during bull market. We weren't looking at all these fucking acronyms and all these blowjob rates and all this kind of fucking things. It's just, I hate that we have to do this, but I suppose that's the way the market's going as it progresses and matures.
Well, it was like the discussion we had in Discord yesterday where, people are talking about narratives and what's happening in this and what's happening with that. And, LSD right now is a big thing. And no, it's not the one that you eat. It's very different. If you don't know what I'm talking about, then you really are listening to the wrong stream. But LSD is like this whole thing. And I'm like, it doesn't matter what's the thing. It doesn't matter whether it's, Shibarium or frickin' Caparian. If Bitcoin decides that it's going to do a big fat dump, it doesn't matter what your narrative is. I mean, imagine a world where we weren't actually beholden to Bitcoin and the market just did its thing. Dude, we'd all be billionaires right now, surely.
No, we'd all be high on LSD.
We'd all be high on LSD.
But the real kind of LSD. That is not nutritional advice, by the way.
I mean, seriously, it's like Bitcoin sneezes and everything just like... Imagine if you could just like invest in Dogecoin, just like completely. I mean, it would probably be sitting at $300 now, and there'd be no sense to what's going on. It would be beautiful.
Yeah, but there's been a lot of shit happening in the space with newsworthy stuff. So basically, the first thing I wanted to bring up, and I think we can get some laughs out of this. Just click Siri off.
I know exactly what you're going to bring up. It's actually filthy.
The boys are back in town. We predicted that. Look, as soon as they seen the first sliver of a demise happening from someone who'd fucked up bigger than they did, they started posting their tweets. Sue started getting all philosophical. He's like the crypto version of like a poor man's version of Naval. It was just so predictable, and obviously they've been doing the rounds and managed to raise 25 million for a new crypto exchange. And I think it's going to be based out of Bali, I believe, Indonesia. So, right. And the idea that it's called GTX, I seen someone say, is it called GTX because G comes after F? So like G comes after the FTX kind of thing, which I thought was quite funny. But are they really still so bitter that they're going to call a company GTX? I just think it's, even on the name alone, it's destined to fail.
I just thought they'd call it like 3ACX or something. So like the 3AC exchange. But like, honestly, like it's 25. I obviously don't know how much it is to start an exchange. I've never done it. I'm probably never going to do it. But is 25 million really enough to like start an exchange? If I know you need like a funky looking website with a UI and whatever, but to have just 25 mil in the back for like coins and stuff,
dude,
is that enough?
Look, no, I think it's more than enough. I think, in fact, I think that this is probably like 5 times more than what it is that they need. But obviously they need 25 million so that they can do all the bells and whistles and buy themselves steak dinners for the rest of their lives and all that kind of stuff. I mean, you look at Vertex, I think, raised $8 million when they were on Luna, and then they've moved across. I mean, so they set up on Luna, they've got a solid team, and they moved to Arbitrum, and they've done it with 8 million, and they have built, dude, I've been on their beta. I saw some of the UI stuff that they're bringing in yesterday. These guys are building a banging product. They are going to redefine the way that DEXs are being built in the DeFi space. Trust me. It's like, it's next level, and they've done it with 8 million. These guys, why do they need 25 million? The only reason why they need 25 million is because they are who they are, in my opinion.
So this is the pitch deck that's been going around.
So basically,
thesis: 20 billion crypto claims market should trade on the public market, which is kind of hilarious. So it's an exchange focused on claims, if I'm not mistaken, but I suppose we can go through it. Our roadmap: we aspire to lead the global progression towards greater financial transparency, liquidity, and certainty. This is just going to be a walk-in contradiction, this deck, isn't it? Like, we'll leave the link in the description below if you want to take a look at it yourself. But bootstrap user acquisitions and scaling at the largest cryptocurrency exchange. We can dominate the crypto claims market within 2 to 3 months of going live.
This has to be like the brainchild of like I can imagine they're on the beach in Bali, have had a few roots and twos, and this is all just one big fat meme that they've put together, because that is mental, mate.
Is this, sorry, I mean, I'm in disbelief, first of all. Secondly, is this really real?
According to Doc Droid,
I'm being dead serious, dude. Don't fucking laugh, bro. This is serious shit. Like, is this really real?
Yeah,
we'll find out.
There's a load of people who there was an episode on The Scoop of some guy who they'll effectively, the way that would work, right? Let's say there was 10 billion on FTX. Someone comes in and then they'll effectively be like an auction or a bidding war for how much the claim on those assets are actually worth. And I think they got priced down to around 10%, or it went as low as 8% at one point. So people like these people will come in, creditors will come in, and they'll say, well, we'll give you $1 billion now, and then whatever assets can be reclaimed at a later date, and then we'll kind of take the spread in between that and obviously take their fee cut from that. So I think they've seen a kind of gap in the market with them, but would anyone really trust these guys to come in and offer 8 cents or 10 cents on the dollar, get the kind of assets reclaimed, and then go ahead and try and restore value back to the people who had been lost money. It just doesn't make a lot of sense. This feels like what Al Gore and his cronies were doing on a much greater scale. And I know this has to happen. Like, creditors come in and like people buy like the whole distressed company or distressed assets, and that's a whole process in and of itself. It has to happen. That's kind of how these things get resolved, and they take an awful lot of time, and that's a whole industry in and of itself that, one, I'm not 100% clear with, but I know that the FTX assets were getting bid at like 8 cents and 10 cents on the dollar from private firms and stuff like that. But are these the real people that need to clear this up? I mean, at least they know how to unwind a position from RV, which the FTX creditors don't seem like they know how to be doing. So, because they got liquidated. But I don't know. It just fucking stinks to me.
Even if you just read some of those bits on there, like the way they're just like hitting it is such a meme. So if you just scroll back up just to that other slide, just one up. So on here, the solution. So GTX unlocks FTX, Celsius, etc. Creditors' claims for immediate trading. Like, dude, like it's just, I ain't got words for it.
So yeah, they've even quoted those numbers, what I've just mentioned in the deck. I haven't looked at this prior. So FTX users are selling claims at 10% face value for immediate liquidity or waiting 10 years. So that's your kind of trade-off there. So you can sell and get immediate liquidity and get back into the markets if you need to, which a lot of people were doing through fucking Telegram and shit like that to people we've just mentioned. But so these are effectively saying we'll come in, we'll pay 10 cents on the dollar or 8 cents on the dollar. I don't know what their rate is. They'd probably have to go through a full due diligence process and see how much they could expect to get out of this. So they've effectively paid everyone off, and then the recovery of the assets is on them, and they'll take the kind of gamble to be able to get those back liquid and take the profit. Proper murky business model. I wouldn't expect anything less. I know this does happen though, and a lot of kind of companies do this, not just in crypto.
But then what happens with like companies? So FTX obviously, so they found like what, $1 billion.
They said they found 5 billion the other day, but that's a load of shit because 700 million of it was in like locked SOL, which won't come into the market for I don't know how many years. And a lot of them were kind of maps and Oxy tokens, which had the highest FDVs I've ever seen out of any company in crypto, which was kind of ridiculous. So the 5 billion that got quoted late last week is was a bit of a kick in the teeth for people, because if they seen that headline and then dug into the assets that were actually like realizable and liquid and being able to sell so people could actually get their funds back, then it was a bit of a clickbait kind of headline that didn't really have any substance if you looked at the actual assets that they'd actually recovered. So yeah, bit of a weird one for me.
So when they refer to it as an exchange, does that mean that you can go and trade perps and spot, or is it an exchange around companies or assets that kind of like are sitting in perpetuity and someone comes in to claim them, or whatever the case is around that? Was it kind of like just the claims aspect, or are they going to do like a one-stop shop exchange?
So these guys, they're saying here, cross-collateral margin system, spot and futures, one wallet, risk and match engine, API, post-trade technology, clearinghouse integration, founding team, Carl Davies. Yeah. But I think they're going to use what I think they'll do is what I think the only reason Binance wanted to acquire them was for people to actually be able to claim their assets at a later date. Then you'd have to come onto the platform, sign up, and then claim them there. And but I think Binance were going to go down that avenue, or they just kind of got FTX to play the hand, and then people would be able to actually claim their assets on Binance if it all went through, and then that they use that as like their basic customer acquisition cost. Because once it's like when Paddy Power or something give you like a $10 free bet just out of nowhere, or they'll give you a £10 bet or a $10 bet if you bet like $50 or whatever. if the money's already in the casino, you're hardly going to take it off. You're just gonna keep like chugging away, and then you try and revenge trade all your fucking money back. So I'm going to read this in more detail and try and get some information out about it, but it just seems a bit like it stinks a little bit to me. 25 million seed. I'd like to know what they expect their valuation to be on that, but I'd probably say it'd be at least 5 to 10 times knowing these guys. So GTX token coming soon. Anything else on that? Possible?
Of course there'll be a token.
Are you ready to trade head on head against 3AC? That's what it is. You're gonna get a lot of like crypto larpers making like content and how they went head to head with them on their exchange.
Correct.
So this is exactly what I was just saying. So bootstrap user acquisition and scale into the largest cryptocurrency exchange. So the way they're going to bootstrap acquisition is basically allowing people to go through the claims on some of the assets that they can actually recover, and then they'll take their fee from that. So, all these claims, clear markets need to unlock 20 billion in crypto claims, dominate as the only public market for claims trading on order books, breed user loyalty and scale community, fill the power vacuum left by FTX, continue to prove core competency and breadth of innovative products, appeal to the crypto trading appetite of claims holders, regulated platform for $2 trillion securities lending market, can take advantage of the no regulatory debt unlike other exchanges, and expand into other regulated markets. Batshit crazy. Like, Lord, give me the strength and the confidence of Kyle Davies and Suzu. I don't know. It's like when
Just
Bing
another
asks,
day in crypto, eh?
It's like when Bing asks to be the default search engine. It's like that level of okay. I don't know.
That's seriously degeneracy, that.
Yeah. So the founder of Wintermute came out and also said, and since we're talking about canceling stuff, if you're investing in CoinFlex slash 3AC exchange, you might find it a bit difficult to work with Wintermute in the future on the relationship building side. So people aren't happy about this, obviously. I don't know why people just keep giving these kind of people money, but here we are. Anything else on that before we move on?
They're just trying to make it all back in one trade, but it's quite cool to see the Wintermute people like standing up against it, which is nice.
We need more of this. We need more of this kind of this narrative and this commitment to not just these guys. Everyone should be saying, you guys are no longer welcome, and this is why, and you need to go and fly a kite somewhere else. And as long as these big players are not actually standing up to this, it's just going to carry on. And I mean, these guys are going for round 2 now. Who knows what they did before 3AC? I mean, it's just, I don't know. I'm still in complete disbelief. I can't believe that they're doing what they're doing, and they got $25 million. That's a lot of money, guys.
In this market, it is.
In this market, it's a serious amount of money. In light of the degeneracy that they participated in and what happened to 3AC, I'm astounded that they managed to raise this money. It's crazy.
Yeah, I don't know the ins and outs of this, but apparently I've seen something before where they said they were kind of forced out of the whole forex industry community as well for kind of, being less than just pulling off similar tactics to what was going on in the whole crypto scheme they had going. So it's not just the second time they've done something like this. You can't expect these people to change their stripes. So who knows? Binance pulled out. Pretty cool product idea here. So the headline from CoinDesk is Binance will allow institutional investors to keep collateral off the crypto exchange. Institutional investors can post collateral from cold wallets with Binance custody, the crypto exchange said. So I suppose it's a nice compromise. If they're trading on the exchange and want to go through that, don't trust the exchange with their actual assets given what's happened to FTX. So happy middle ground. I don't know what you both think about that one.
Yeah, I feel
I've
like
got a
Binance is
question.
making good headway.
I've got a question to ask, and that is that there's a lot of people out there who are not stupid, who have great insight into markets and the dynamics of markets, who really believe that Binance is a major risk. And I'm just curious what you guys think, like for real. I mean, let's just take the memes out the room for a second. Dan, I'm speaking to you particularly. Like seriously, do you guys think that Binance is, based on what's out there and kind of like behavior and all the rest of it, do you think these guys are a high risk institution? I mean, what are your thoughts around Binance? Dan, you can go first.
Well, I've had a few conversations with people on the street, and one of the guys was saying that there is a hole that they've got behind the scenes that does need to be plugged, but it's not big enough to basically like wreck the exchange, from what he was saying. So I think it's one of these things. If somebody the size, obviously like FTX were doing like dodgy stuff, but if something the size of FTX can go down, or if you look way back when someone like the Lehmans when they went down, if something that size can just collapse, it is always begs the question that why can't Binance? Are they fine? Yeah, on the face of it, they look great. CZ's shit posting most of the day. They're doing all these good things for the news. I assume they've still got that wallet that just had like $1 billion in for like the $1 billion recovery fund that you don't really hear about anymore, but it's just sat there. So they've done a lot of good things in the news. What the back end's like, that is super hard to say, because nobody really knows until shit hits the fan and like mass capitulation or some kind of like crashing happens. But I guess for now, it seems okay on the face of it.
Yeah. Grant?
I think they've came out of this seemingly undamaged, and I think it really is the point of where people know if Binance were to go under, that would be an extremely, extremely difficult thing for the industry to recover from. So it feels like the kind of no one likes pointing too much kind of the photo. No one actually likes going head to head with them, because they know for a fact if they were to go down, then it's going to drag the rest of the industry down with them. I think it would eventually recover if anything like that were to happen. But I don't know. I think they'll be all right. I think the industry is better for them being here, if that makes the slightest bit of difference. But I don't really know. You never know what interests are at play when you hear kind of shit getting thrown around.
I actually think you're correct. I agree with you. I just think that they have too much momentum and too much volume. Even if they do have even a larger hole than what they could fill, I think there are a lot more solutions for them kind of like on the table potentially. And I also think that CZ is no fool. And if they were in trouble of any sort, I believe that they would be able to solve that problem in light of the fact that they're the biggest exchange. I don't think they're doing what FTX were doing. I think they have way more checks and balances in place. As someone who's been on Binance, as a user of Binance, they're definitely upping their game. I mean, now they're demanding proof of income, and they're quite strict in terms of the stuff that they put out there. Way more strict and way more accountable on the face of it than anything that FTX ever displayed. So I don't really think that Binance is a risk for going down. Are they a risk in terms of having to sort out problems? Probably, like you said, Dan. There's a lot of stuff going on in the background that we'll never know. But I do believe that they have the momentum to solve those problems. And like you said, Grant, I think the cherry on top is that the space is better for having them around, and I agree. Like, that's probably the single most important thing, irrespective of whether you like CZ or not. they're important.
And I
They're
mean,
important in terms of mass adoption and the momentum that crypto needs.
I mean, if you just look at that, so if you just scroll up to the top, if you just look at that list, I mean, okay, so let's say Binance completely buggered, they're gone. Like,
Yeah.
are we now going to start trusting Bitfinex, OKX, Crypto.com, Huobi, KuCoin? You know, like there's no like. I think what we've got in crypto now is like you've got the big ones, but then everybody else is like really really tiny. There's no like. I wouldn't say there's no like medium exchange. When I think of crypto, it's like crypto's Binance. You know, crypto isn't like KuCoin or whatever. These are the smaller exchanges. Whilst they're doing some good things, to have Binance gone, it's just like it wouldn't do the industry any favors.
Yeah. So you know what I think is also really important around this discussion that is our love and our foundation is DeFi. And obviously what's happened over the last year or so has just given the DeFi narrative so much fuel. And now we're seeing, you know, decentralized exchanges that essentially want to and will replicate the centralized exchange experience. And I think that's where the real value, or not necessarily the value, but the real winner in this whole thing is. That now we're looking towards DeFi to fulfill the same function that centralized exchanges have done. And I think it's going to happen. It's going to take a bit of time, but if you've got guys like Vertex, I mean, GMX have really hit the ball out the park there, but the GMX experience is still not comparable to a centralized exchange experience, which people want. So the onboarding, offboarding, you know, coming on chain, getting off chain, moving your money around, you know, customizing your UI so that you can trade effectively, liquidity being the most important thing. That's what's needed now. And I think that like Vertex, I think are going to get it right. Like I said earlier on, I think they're upping the game. You know, there's some clever guys there. They know exactly what that experience needs to be. And I think they're going to get it right. And then it's just going to up the game. And I think probably in the next, I'm hoping anyways, in the next 2 to 5 years, we'll be having a very different discussion to what we're having now in terms of what DEXs have got to offer and the user experience around them.
They need to make like I coined it in one of the newsletters. Like you need to make like a sexy DEX where it looks and feels like
this
sex,
is it.
but it works.
This
like
is it.
DEX. Yeah,
this is it.
Like it needs
Vertex
to be. Yeah, no, I agree. But like things still need to be like prettier. Like you need to make things so as simple as Binance, but in a decentralized way, in a DEX way. And I think we are a long way off that. I don't think it's gonna be this year. Will it be next year?
I disagree with you. I disagree with you. I think by June of this year, the Vertex experience is going to prove you wrong. I'm going on record on this stream, and we will revisit this conversation. Let's leave it at that.
If anyone's wondering why the charts look like that, it's because it's not live yet. There's just the UI's out. They've got a test. They've got a test now. So, but yeah, this is going to be on Arbitrum. Keep a look. We have an article on the website, and we also have a testnet tutorial. Who knows if that's going to be incentivized or retroactively? Nobody knows, but you know, incentivized testnets are all the rage at the minute. So I'd go and give it a go.
So you can do your buy and sell orders on the right as well. You can customize. I saw that yesterday. You can move it across to the right, like Binance that has it. Order books are off chain and not on chain because they want immediate for now. These guys know what they're doing. They are so on it, it's scary.
Bullish on Vertex, but we'll take the DeFi conversation into Discord.
Yeah, I think Dan, you're 100% correct. It needs to be sexy, it needs to be fluid, and it needs to fulfill the same role that central exchanges are doing. And I think we're going to get there a lot sooner than you think. That's my take on it.
Something I really do. I've been paying attention to every day this week is the 2.2 billion inflows to Binance.
When TradFi adopts it and when TradFi understands how to use it and we see an inflow of money, then yeah.
You mean retail? Full retail? Not TradFi?
No, TradFi. When I think when you get the big TradFi guys using it and showing that it works, then I think that's going to be one of the catalysts for, you know, normies and like retail to actually come back in, because right now there's no reason for them. Like you could have like the sexiest decks
No
out
trust.
there,
Yeah.
but it's only going to be us three and like a couple of people in Discord using it. As soon as TradFi starts to come back in, as soon I believe as soon as TradFi starts to come back in and like sees a bit more positivity, and once the Giga Brains in TradFi space, who get us wrecked as much as we do, when they start to understand how these things actually work, then that's when we're going to see DeFi actually winning. But for now, like I think this year is all about DeFi building to get the right experience where they not so much move away from like, you know, the user experience that we have, but they engage in the user experience that is fit for everybody. Because right now it's not fit for everybody, and even on the best dexes, it's not fit for everyone, and it needs to be.
Agreed. I agree with you.
If we really want it to go,
even for your large,
even
for your large volumes and like really depth, like Vertex is obviously an order book, so. And the way that they're actually allowing people to come in, if you think of like a traditional AMM on Uniswap, it's certainly moving towards that way with the likes of Arrakis and UniV3 and things like that. But in its current form, if you were a market maker on Binance or wherever you market make, and you've got a large kind of volumes going through there every day, you can't necessarily just transpose those algorithms on top of UniV3. Arrakis is going to try and make that a little bit easier with their Palm product that's coming out. But with the likes of Vertex, they have really basic APIs to be able to connect what you'd traditionally be doing on a centralized exchange into their DEX. So I think that's like one of the points. It's in the article if you can find it on the website. But that's just something that's completely overlooked, I think. So order book on chain, on Arbitrum, sub-second execution, and the ability for traditional market makers to plug in their own algos. So I think this will get ridiculous volume, if I'm being honest. But that's exactly what you're saying, isn't it, Dan? It's like the UI UX needs to be.
Do me a favor, please, Grant. Just go and look at the volume that GMX did last week.
It's like 2.5 or something ridiculous. Because they had a day where it was 1.8 million, which just screams to me like people got wrecked.
Where would I find that? I'm just going to GMX stats.
The reason why I'm asking is it will be interesting to look at this number now, because I completely agree with you in terms, Dan, in terms of like meaningful volume and getting TradFi into the whole space. But even without that, because clearly it isn't here at the moment, just to see like what the pure degen volumes are versus, you know, more widely retail versus TradFi volume later on. And then kind of like reflecting back on this conversation in 6 months to 12 months time. Remember when we looked at it, it was at X, and look at it now. It'll be really interesting to see how that difference comes into play.
Yeah, so just trying to find them. There. Let's have a look at this. I think this is more telling anyway. So they 30-day fees, they've made like 10.75 million.
Wow.
Which is
that's
like,
impressive.
Yeah, super impressive. 24-hour fees. Let me see if I can get this changed. Yeah, so they're like 7th. I don't know how Tron's doing that. Maybe just for USDT cents. But yeah, 10.75 million. 2 below Uniswap at 23.12 million. So I don't think there's a better product with regards to product market fit on the market at the minute. And the beauty of it as well, out of all of those protocols, other than Convex, even though it's a little bit more convoluted, the revenue share between all of these protocols doesn't come anywhere near as much as what you're getting with GLP or GMX tokens being staked. So that's why it's so well thought of in the community and with the whole Arbitrum and Avalanche ecosystems, because it's a fee printer and it's also got 100% revenue distribution to GLP liquidity providers and GMX stakers. So it's kind of nuts.
And what do you think about GMX going back over to BNB?
Is that definitely happening? Yeah.
It's in a proposal stage, and if you read like the page where you've got some proper salty beans on there who don't really want them to go back, because they obviously they obviously started life over on BNB as Gambit before coming over. Yeah. So the guys that are proposing it are saying, it's just going to be a great avenue for more liquidity, more people. But then I guess you could say the same argument for GMX going over to Polygon as well. But if GMX go truly cross-chain on everything, Jesus Christ, then we start to get a sexy DEX. That's a really sexy DEX.
Yeah, I think they should just fucking go wherever there's demand for it, because obviously there's going to be a fork over there that generates that revenue, and do you know what I mean? If there's token distribution and fee distribution to stakers and things, I don't see why they shouldn't be doing it. Avalanche and Arbitrum, two great chains to be on originally, but BSC is a hive of activity. And there's some really kind of decent volumes that happen over there. Look at PancakeSwap up there, 9th. BSC 24, the chain itself, 24.4 million over the past 30 days in fees. So why not?
Yeah, Vertex also same plan, multi-chain, build on top of us. So they're not just building an exchange; they're building the infrastructure for builders to come in and build on top of them and use their services to kind of dovetail into another project services. So it's kind of that's where the sexiness comes in, like Dan is saying, is that it can't be one dimensional. It's got to accommodate a whole lot of functions. And that's what these guys are building now. Nobody's building one product anymore. They're all building the ability to go multi-chain without any quarter given around that, and then also to be able to not have fragmented liquidity. And that's obviously where layer zeros come in and all that kind of stuff. So things are changing, and things are changing rapidly, and this is the year for it. With all these builders coming in, we've got some really cool projects coming out this year.
Yeah, that's gonna be my next question. Why don't they just build on top of layer 0 and then just on day one have the octopus arms to and all the fingers to 13 pools of liquidity? Why don't they just do that? Would that not make more sense?
You probably could have. Right, so there'd be a couple of ways to do it. So if you wanted unified liquidity, one, that becomes a huge risk vector. So I don't think they'd do that, but you could certainly have different GLP pools across different chains. The only thing I think people would be really bothered about is, so when those fees get distributed, let's say you're getting, for GLP, let's say you're getting 30% on Arbitrum, you're getting 25% on Avalanche, and maybe you're only getting 20% on BSC. So people who are staked on Arbitrum, if there was a omni-chain kind of solution to claim fees on whatever chain you wanted, then how do you go about doing that? Do you just allow people to claim on their original source chain that they're using? Or because if you're committed on Arbitrum and BSC's only bringing in 20% while you're bringing in 30%, you don't want that to be averaged across all chains, because then that starts to be a bit political. I mean, you definitely could do that, but it's a bit of a funny one. You could certainly do it. I'm pretty sure someone will go ahead and try and do it, but I don't know. It's a bit of a push to be on that one.
I think the short answer, Dan, from my side is that I think it's really doable, but then like Grant was saying, is that you've got risk vectors around having, say, for example, liquidity in one place. So in many ways, even though having liquidity in one place is an advantage, it can also be a disadvantage from a security perspective, and the big challenge right now is to kind of, I think from the layer 0 perspective, and obviously having the omni-chain narrative, is this thing hasn't really been tested from a security perspective yet. It seems pretty legit, well, very legit, and it does what it's supposed to do. But, obviously chains have been tested, and we've had, close to $4 billion being stolen off transactions that occur over chains. The whole point about Layer 0 is to solve that problem. Let's see now. It's going out in the field. Time will tell. Obviously, in terms of the theory around it, it seems to be way more secure. Some people try to discredit Layer 0 and its messaging protocol and its method on Twitter this week on one of the posts that I put out there, and they got completely had for breakfast. I think it was L2 someone who posted like this argument around it, and he got had for breakfast by 2 founders. So I think it's 3 founders actually. Founder of Layer 0, Interswap, and Tapioca DAO came out firing and essentially chewed him up and spat him out. But those are the conversations that need to be had, and now we need to see how it plays out in the field.
Yeah. Dan, do you want to go into this one?
Yeah, I guess can do. So, more news, more big people backing, other big people. So Sakamochi is backing Brett Harrison's new crypto software project. Name is yet to be disclosed. Any other information is yet to be disclosed. Is this just Twitter LARP? Could be. But it's interesting to see like a lot of the people at like these exchanges that, completely fluffed up. So we obviously had 3AC. Now we've got, so if you don't know, Brett Harrison was the former CEO of FTX US who stepped down at the right time before it all collapsed. And now you've got Anthony Sakamochi, who is aping in with his own personal cash into this new crypto software company. But nobody really knows too much other than that, apart from some, very nice raiding that they're doing on each other's Twitters at the moment.
All right, so to wrap it up, higher or lower? Dan thinks there's going to be some severe wicks up and down, but
I'm gonna say a bold prediction. I think we're gonna go up this week purely because if PPI is good on Wednesday, that's gonna send us. And also, just as we were speaking now, you can obviously take this as a pinch of salt, as you should do with everything that comes out. But apparently, the Credit Suisse chairman says, "I see no global recession." Goldman Sachs has, reduced their recession warning. And like I've mentioned before, like last week was all about soft landing on Bloomberg. So you're trying to you see where the psychological sentiment shift is going, and yeah, a few naughty wicks are coming, but I'm going to say up this week.
Yeah, I agree. I think up definitely. I completely agree with the wicks. I think that's standard. Why up? Simply because we haven't seen this kind of strength probably in a year, maybe even longer. I mean, it just really, it punched through that major resistance just under 19.5, like it was effortless, like a hot knife through butter. And I think it's just going to really charge. And ETH is also looking really good. I mean, it's great that you brought it up. We haven't seen this much strength in ETH also for ages. And so I think up this week, I mean, we've had, 10 days? In the last 10 days, we've had, 9 days, we've had seven green days in a row. So, well, not in a row, but seven greens out of 9 days, I think it is. No, it's 2 weeks.
I do think
it's 12 days green, 2 weeks, 12 days green, 2 days red. So that's impressive.
Yeah. I'm happy for us just to linger around this level for a while. Just let people kind of chill out.
Argue with one another. Yeah, they need to argue with one another. We need the bears to get grumpy, and we need the bulls to get happy, and then we need the bulls to be a little bit grumpy. We need a little bit of this. It's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd have been a bit concerned if we'd have went straight to 1700 like on ETH and just rejected back down. But
then it's just going to go straight back down. Yeah.
There's good inflows happening. Like I brought up, the Binance getting this month 2 billion in. I mean, I know it's not like ridiculous, but at least it's like positive coming in as opposed to the past however many months have just been kind of down only. So we will see. Any quick alts just before we round it up? Might have been doing a half all right. Rockpool's been killing it.
I'm just looking. Honestly, one of the only ones I'm looking at is Phantom at the moment, because they've got like a conference coming up pretty soon, and with a 30-year runway, Andre's back in the seat. Something could potentially happen. Oh, and yesterday I saw. So this is completely off topic now. Redacted Cartel. They've just launched a new T-shirt, and in their medium they gave not very good like alpha hints on De Niro, but you know they were mentioning like when De Niro, they're just like soon.
Yeah,
we'll be covering some Redacted Cartel stuff. I mean, we've always loved what they've done. I'm a big fan of Sammy's work. I think he's one of my favorite gigabrains in the space, and the dude just keeps on delivering. And yeah, we love what those guys are doing. I think they're just providing the basis for the best kind of innovation in the DeFi space, and they just keep on delivering, man. It's like more to come. So yeah, we'll be covering quite a lot of this stuff coming.
Yeah,
in the
Folds
coming months.
Manifold's acting pretty strong at the minute. I think we mentioned it on the last stream, but I think the integration into Sushi happens this month as well. So lots of nice revenue share back to folders there. I'd probably be a sell the news as soon as it happens and gets integrated, as all these things are. But it's been showing some really, really good strength. A little bit of volume coming in there. Probably still got a little bit of the move left to go, personally think. Yeah, other than that, just LSD narrative projects, GMX obviously, and
CVX also looks really strong. We haven't seen CVX do what it's doing right now in freaking forever.
Frax is the one. Frax is
killing. Yeah, killing it.
There's another like 10,000 ETH added as well into the stake pool.
I mean, look at that chart, dude. I mean, CVX is just such a king at the moment as well. Frax is king.
Frax's roadmap is dropping imminently, like for this year. So I think that's another So I think that's another thing that people are maybe like, you know, buying the rumor to then either keep the news or sell it. But Pickle, he's extremely bullish, and he made a really good Twitter thread that we did add in the newsletter a while ago, from the start of the year, and saying how he thinks Frax ETH, like Frax staked ETH, is going to be one of the best plays. I mean, look at that. Look at that.
On other news, also really good news, Tapioca DAO are about to release their white paper. They've been working long and hard on it. I've had a glimpse of it. It melted my brain several times. But it's going to be really interesting. And the reason why I brought it out is that they bring forward some really interesting ideas. You know, I spoke about, you know, Sammy and the way that he approaches things. Tapioca are just taking a lot of the ideas that have been out in DeFi, and they kind of like pumping steroids into it. It's going to be really interesting to see how it plays out. So yeah, expect us to be writing about that and chatting about what Tapioca are doing. Really exciting project. I mean, we love what those guys have done from a community perspective, from a product perspective. Let's see what the white paper brings and how the market reacts to it.
It's going to be great. Right, nice. I think that's it. Anything else, gents?
That's it from me. All
right. Newsletters below. Something big happening this week. Newsletters in the description. If you could give that a subscribe, you might be getting nice and juicy email this week about what's happening on there. And yeah, if you could do the like and subscribe thing here. And if you're listening on Spotify as well, just hit the follow button. And you can also leave us a 5-star review, please. Thanks. But yep, we'll see you Friday.